Welcome to the Fabrique Podcast. This is a podcast where we speak to professional soccer players and we try to deconstruct what it takes to be a professional soccer player.
I had a player like Kyle Walker in my team, who now is a captain from Manchester City. I also play with Harry Maguire, who is a captain from Manchester United. So we have a very good team. Like, everything was so big, I came from an academy in France, who was a top academy, but from an academy to Premier League professional contract is like a huge step. Learning from Patrick Vieira was something like very, very emotional for me, as you said, because I watched him when I was young. And he's a kind of player who makes me start playing soccer. So everything I get from different coaches, especially from Patrick Vieira, I just want to share. I want to give it back, I think it's always good to have coach who has experience as a football player. It doesn't mean like because you've been a good football player, you're going to be a good coach, but you've got the tips, you know the game better than somebody who never play as professional level. So having the chance to play against Cristiano Ronaldo, I play against him maybe like 10 or 15 times. It was like, it's a kind of dream, but it's not only Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm thinking about Mbappe or Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Erling Haaland, who's doing very well now in Manchester City. It's all because I'm playing from national team, I had the chance to play against the best players in the world. Facing this kind of player make me a better defender, because I practice every day. What comes to my mind right now, it's probably the argue I have with Cristiano Ronaldo after he gave the ball away and he look at me and he say, it was too easy against you. So he tried to be like nasty, but I like that, it's something I like. People don't know, but I play with a very bad injury for almost 75% of the season. But I never say anything, I never complain, and I knew I couldn't give up too, because otherwise who's gonna protect my goalkeeper, who's gonna help the team to achieve his goals. And it's balancing, at the end of the day, we won the cup. It was probably the best season we had at NYCFC, but in other ends, I was like suffering a lot every single day. The pain was just insane. I couldn't sleep at night. It was like I couldn't even walk. I think it was a right decision because we won the cup. But it's been a very, very challenging year for me.
Today we've got Maxime Chanot, who is the owner of La Fabrique and obviously a professional soccer player himself. Max, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
For those that don't know you, can you give us where you've played? And you're obviously still playing now, so take us all the way.
So hi everyone, I'm very happy to be here. So I'm Maxime Chanot, I'm a central defender. So now I'm basically playing for France, in Ajaccio, but I've been a former MLS player. I've been playing for NYCFC for 8 seasons. I won the trophy in 2021, MLS Cup champions. Been a captain from the club for the last 2 years. And I've been playing everywhere in Europe. So I start my career in France because I'm French. So I'm born in France. I went to the academy in France. Then I have the chance to sign my first professional contract at 17 in England, in the English Premier League. So it was probably the best league in the world at this time, and it's still the case. Then from England, I moved back to France in the first division. And after that, I established myself in Belgium. I stayed for 5 years playing in first division and became one of the best defenders in the league. Then 2016, I had the chance to move to MLS, New York City Football Club, where, as I just said, we won the cup in 2021.
We'll talk in more detail about all of that. But first, let's tell everyone what La Fabrique is. It's something probably new to people.
So La Fabrique, it's pretty simple. It's like a concept. I want to give it back to soccer what soccer gave it to me. I want to be part of a journey for the next football player from people from New York, I came in New York 8 years ago, 2016, and I saw so many talents, so many passion for soccer in New York. And what I try to do through La Fabrique is just to share my experience through my football career. I want to help the kids to develop the game. I want to help the kids to become a better player, and why not to become the next Maxime Chanot, to become the next professional football player.
So to be clear, for those of people in New York, it'll be an academy. Can they sign up? Can you tell us a little bit about what people should expect?
So it's going to be a new academy. The name is going to be La Fabrique. Why La Fabrique? Because fabrique means in France like we create, and we want to create the next football player. So it's going to be basically like some classes. We're going to have like coaches who's going to share and give a training to people who wants to join La Fabrique. It's going to be a very high quality academy. where I'm gonna share my experience, when I'm gonna be there to train with the kids. And as I said, what I want is to give back to soccer what soccer gave it to me. I want the people from New York, especially the young kid, but he also is going to be a teenager, it's going to be also like everybody will be welcome. But the main idea is to train and develop the game to become a better player.
What will your influence on the academy be? How close will you work?
I will be there pretty often. I will be there on the pitch. I will take care about the training session. I really want to be involved. I don't want to be somebody who just makes something and just leave it like that. I really want people to feel like I'm involved, and this is exactly where I'm going to be. So I'm going to be there as much as I can, because obviously, as you said, I'm still a football player. I'm still playing right now, but I'm going to try to be as much as I can here. And we're gonna have a very high quality coach, and so it's gonna be a very fun project, a very exciting project. And once again, the most important for me, it's I want to give the chance to every single New Yorkers to have the chance to play soccer.
I think it's amazing. Obviously, I know you from when you came to New York, and you said the first thing was, I want to win a cup for New York, and you did. And now you're saying you want to make the next professional players from New York, and I'm sure you'll do it again.
Yeah, I think it's part of my journey. I came in New York as a football player, and I left New York as somebody who just want to share everything I learned during my time at the NYCFC. Winning a trophy was something very special for me, and I want to give the chance to every single kid from New York to experiment what I experiment by winning trophy, by winning games, by playing games in MLS, And I'm sure from what I learned during my career, I could help people to become better player, and hopefully for them to be able to play one day as a professional football player.
So let's start in the beginning, the very beginnings of your journey. When was I'm sure where you grew up, football was everywhere, right? But when did you start to notice, maybe this is what I'm going to do, and your mentality as well?
Yeah, what you have to understand is in Europe, soccer is like South America, it's like a religion. Every single people play in soccer. I think it's an easy way to play on the street or in a park or with your friends. You just need one ball, 2, 3, and the game is on. So soccer always been my passion, my hobby, and obviously the big change in my life was when France won the World Cup in 1998. So I was 9 years old at this time, 8 years old, sorry. And it was a big change for me. Watching them on TV, having a chance to watch such a good player like Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, Zinedine Zidane, and I just wanted to be the next Zinedine Zidane. Finally, I became the Maxime Chanot. I wasn't I didn't score goals, but I defend. But that was a big event for me in my life. When the France won the World Cup, and since that day, I knew I was going to be a professional athlete.
So how crazy was it for you when you were in New York and Patrick Vieira was your coach?
Yeah, that was just insane, and I think that's also why I made the choice to move from Europe to US, to an MLS, is also because I could have the chance to be coached by Patrick Vieira, who's such a big legend in the game. Obviously, playing with Andrea Pirlo, David Villa, Frank Lampard was also the reason why I make the decision to come. But learning from Patrick Vieira was something very, very emotional for me, as you said, because I watched him when I was young. And he's a kind of a player who makes me start playing soccer, And yes, so everything I get from different coaches, especially from Patrick Vieira, I just want to share. I want to give it back,
I think it's interesting. So you know what it's like to have a player you used to watch then become your coach. And now you'll be in a similar role with La Fabrique. Can you talk about what that gave you extra?
I think it's always good to have coach who has experience as a football player. It doesn't mean because you've been a good football player, you're going to be a good coach, but you've got the tips, the game better than somebody who never play as professional level. And having a chance now to sharing my experience to people, I hope it's going to give inspiration for everybody to try to to try to do the same thing that what I did. So I became a professional player. So yeah, I'm gonna use everything I learned as a football player, and I can't wait. I'm super excited about this project.
I want to make sure, young players that listen to this podcast, they don't get, maybe just the general work hard and do this, but what are some things you can tell them on the pitch, do this differently? If you were a kid now, or if you were telling a kid now, give me an example of what maybe 5 days or a week should look like. Should they be waking up early, going for a run? Just give us a day in the life maybe that you should have as a kid.
It's depend about how old you are. You have to be smart, and you're not gonna walk the same way when you're 5 years old compared than a 15-year-old teenager. But basically, if you want to be better, you have to practice every day. You have to train every day. So it can be only 1 hour when you're young. 1 hour per day, I think, would be enough. And after, when you start to be like a little bit older and your body is ready to work hard, you can like go through like a 2 sessions per day. And that's what we're gonna provide with our Fabrique. We're gonna provide like a high quality training where the kids gonna be ready after to compete in their league. And basic things, you have to sleep well, you have to eat well, because it's not only playing soccer, it's also you have to take care of your body. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to teach them, obviously on the pitch, but also how to live as a professional player.
Growing up, I'm sure the journey is long, right? It's maybe easy to see it looking back, but can you give us some examples of moments in your maybe younger career where, you had to be strong? And obviously kids watching this maybe can look and say, it's easy for him to say because he's there already,
No, it's been tough. It's been tough. I've been through hard time in my career. I'm not talking about the injury or every time I messed up during a game. But I think the first thing who's coming to my memory right now, if you ask me the question, is when I left my home when I was 14. I left like 7 hours away from where I lived, and I was only 14, so it was pretty hard. So how does it work basically in Europe is when you want to become a professional athlete, you have to go through academy, and the academy who wants to recruit me was like pretty far away from where I live. And yeah, it was tough. I was away from my parents. 14 years old looks like pretty young. So I didn't see them like only like twice a year. So it was pretty tough, But it made me stronger. But obviously, you can understand how hard was it when you're such a young age. You still need your parents, but it made me like being stronger. And I knew it was the sacrifice I had to do at this time to become a football player. It wasn't easy. And but if I have to do it again, I will do it, because it's the only way to become a professional athlete. But it was definitely like a little bit difficult, And it's the same when I moved to England. When I signed my first pro contract, I was like 17 years old. It was also such a young age. Back in the days, I didn't speak English, so it was also hard to move from another country without speaking the language, with like playing in the top league against like top players. It's been really challenging, But this is part of the football career. You've got a lot of up and some downs, But the most important thing is to back up, to never stay down, And as long as you've got the perseverance, I think you're in a good way to become successful.
Let's talk about that contract at Sheffield. What year was it? I think it's fair to say it was a little bit the old school era still, right?
Yes, it was in 2006, sorry. It was in 2006, so it was kind of old school mentality. Now it's like more, now you can see like more often players leaving to another country, because it's more in the mentality now, it's more open mind. But back in the days, player who just left at the early age like I did was like very rare, So the club pay a transfer. I was only like 17 years old, so it was like a huge thing in France. And yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but I only remember a good time. I had the chance to play against top player, against top team, with top players. So it's been a very important part of my life, of course, of my career. But yeah.
What are some memories you have as the young kids, maybe on or off the pitch, stepping with some of the old guys? Maybe you can tell a story or two.
The first memory, obviously, is my first game, when you step in on a changing room and you see your name on a jersey. That's something like you always dream of. Everything was so big, I had a player like Kyle Walker in my team, who now is a captain from Manchester City. I also play with Harry Maguire, who is a captain from Manchester United. So we have a very good team. Like most of them, like established themselves in the Premier League in the different clubs. Everything was so big. You know, I came from an academy in France, who was a top academy, but from an academy to Premier League professional contract is like a huge step. And it wasn't easy, you know, but the luck I had is the club was willing to wait for me. So they just came to me and they said, listen, we know it's going to be hard for you, it's a big step for you forward, but you're going to take your time, we trust you. And I think that's helped me also to feel better, you know. But the funniest thing is the football was way different and the level was so hard. It took me maybe 6 months before I did like one good training. It was like raining every day for somebody who come from the sun, you know. I'm come from like south to France. It was like difficult. And don't forget what I said, I didn't speak the language. So to hang out with your teammates and like to establish some good relationship for your teammates when you don't speak the language is not that easy. So that's also something I experiment, like speaking the language. It's very important to learn the language from the country you play. But yeah, it was a big difference, but I think it made me grow up so quick. Then after 6 months, I felt so good. The first 6 months has been a nightmare, I can tell. And after 6 months, I felt like I knew I was made the right choice.
Specifically on the pitch, what were some of those things that you had to polish and get sharper at?
Physically, I think physically was in two different ways, because the English style of play is different than the French one, which is more technical. The English one was like more physical. And the funniest thing is the first 3 months when I arrived at the club, I wasn't allowed to touch the ball. So I stayed with a individual fitness coach, and I went to the gym every single day for 3 months. And after 3 months, I remember the coach came to me and said, now you're ready to train with us. So that was fun. But so first of all, obviously it's a different style of play, but also because I came from an academy. So I was playing with young player, you know, from my age, from 16 to 17 years old. And in 1 month, when I signed my contract, I started playing with adults, people who were like 25, 30 years old. So way more like bigger and stronger than me. So that's why I think the club tried to protect me by sending me in a gym just to make sure like I can get the impact. And I think in 3 months I gained like 9 kilos. So it's like a lot of muscle. And yeah, it was, I had a good memory. It wasn't that easy, but I was really willing to suffer because I really wanted to be successful. And I knew it was the price to pay, you know. Was the only way if you want to be. If I wanted to be successful, I knew I was going to suffer, and I was ready for that.
So who did you have on that back line with you? A Manchester City player and Manchester United?
We had a good team. We have KV Kortrijk on the right, who played for Man City. We have me and Harry Maguire, and we have Matthew Lawton, who is like in Aston Villa, who's been like a very successful player in Premier League. So we have like few players who became very successful because we also had the chance to work with fantastic coach. And I was thinking about Brian Robson, who is such a big legend from Manchester United too. And yeah, he just teach us the right thing. And once again, I think the main difference we had between the other players, in all of these players, so Kyle Walker, including myself, and the rest of the players who just became successful as a professional football player, I think we were willing to listen and we were willing to learn from him, from the different players who were around us, and I think that's also a big part of the success of a football player.
It sounds too like it shows how important being in the environment that cares about a young player is, right?
Yeah, being in the right club at the right time is also very important, you know. Now I think it's a little bit easier to go through the first team because of how football is right now. But back in the days, like 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. To play into the first team, you have to be very good. So having the chance to be in a club where they give a chance to the young player, like Sheffield United, was obviously a blessing. The main thing I had in my head when I was young and when I was under contract with Sheffield United, I didn't want to have any regrets. So I gave everything I could every single day because I didn't want someone to just look in myself in a mirror after, I don't know, like 1 year or 10 years saying like, oh, I should do that. I think living with the regrets is the hardest thing in life. So I understood that very early in my life, and that's why I gave my best every single day.
I'm sure you saw a lot of talented kids that didn't make the jump. What are some things that you can say make the difference that you've seen?
Yeah, I've been playing with so many talented kids, and why they didn't make it, I think the main difference is about the perseverance. It's You have to understand, like, every single player, it can be Mbappe, it can be the Erling Haaland, whatever, the best player in the world, go through struggle in a career. It's part of a football journey. It's part of life. Struggle is part of life. But the main difference between the one who became successful and the one who just gave up is the one who became successful never gave up. It's hard. We know it's hard for everybody. But if you give up, it's over. If you keep going again and again, and I think that's also why I became the player I am today, why I had the chance to play more than 500 games in the first division everywhere in the world, in US, in Belgium, in France, in England, is I never gave up. Even if I had like so many bad times, because it's part, as I said again, but it's part of the football journey. And I think that's the main difference between the one who's going to be successful or not. Never give up.
You never know what's around the corner, right? Like, I'm sure when you came to New York, it happened quickly for you too, right?
And it can be a little bit like stressful because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But also part of a life. I think is also the good part of a football career. Is very exciting. You know, you can be in NYCFC and in 2016 and 2017 get traded to another club or whatever. And also that's why it's good to give everything every single day, and because in football life your career can go it's so quick. You can go high and low, like you can't even control that. So the good thing as a football player is, you know, if you put yourself in a work, maybe you're gonna have a good transfer and you're gonna play in a top league in the world, you know, a top club in the world. And that's why my leitmotif since I'm young, you know, I was like, I want to be the best defender in the world, you know. So that's why I think it make me work so hard.
Can you talk about that a little bit? I think people forget every day you're working with other people that are trying to take your job too, right? You have to keep that level. How hard is that to do every single day?
Yeah, I think it's all about the work ethic. I mean, what is difficult in soccer, and especially like not only in soccer, in sport in general, but in soccer, is you've got like a short-term contract. That's something people doesn't have in a normal life, you know. I don't say you have like a secure job, but the problem in football is, let's say, like, if you get injured, you can lose your starting position. If you get sick, you can lose your starting position. You've got like teammates, but the teammates wants to play over you. That's part of business too. So that's also a hard part, I think, of the professional career, is to be ready and focused every single day, because if you're not focused, if you're not ready, if you messed up on training and games, your teammates who is next to you is going to take your position. I think that's a part of soccer which is probably the hardest, is you can't mess up. If you messed up 1 or 2 times, it's over for you. And that's not easy mentally, especially on the long term, like on the 10 or 15 years career. And it's funny because the most of the player who just retire or just stop soccer, it's not about because they're tired physically or whatever, it's just because mentally, because being on your top every single day for such a long time, that's not easy.
And you talk about the competition every day. Winning is even harder, right? Because everyone wants to win. Everyone wants that trophy. Can you talk about the trophy you won for New York, MLS Cup 2021? A little bit about that playoff run. What comes to your mind right away?
Yeah, winning that trophy was very emotional. People maybe don't remember, but we lost, I believe, 5 or 6 times in a row in the semi-final. So when I came in New York for the first time, I was saying to the fans and to the press, like, I'm going to bring you a trophy. That was my target. I'm going to bring you the MLS Cup in New York. And losing 5 or 6 times in a row at the same time of the playoff, semi-final. I say we're never gonna make it. So winning after like 6 years was very emotional because we understand what does it take, what does it take to win cup, win trophy. It's been very emotional, very stressful, because we won also during that play of 4 games, but 2 times in a penalty kick, especially the final where we were leading all game and Portland scored the very last seconds. So it's probably the best memory on my football career, by far. Winning trophy with a group of players like Maxime Chanot, Sean Johnson, Alex Cayens. That's all players we all played together for 5 or 6 years. Was also something different, because they became your friend, and winning all together was very emotional. But I think when I remember when I just lift the trophy, I say to myself, "Oh, you did it, and you worth it. All the pain you suffer, the injury, the bad time, and I'm still so proud about what we achieved with this club, with this group of players, and yes, that's something that's going to stay in my memory forever."
And specifically that year, how was it for you? Maybe off the pitch, was it? What were some of the things you were dealing with too that maybe was invisible to everyone?
It was a very difficult year for me. People don't know, but I played with a very bad injury for almost 75% of the season. I suffered after 3. It was the third game of the season when I suffered like a bad injury on my hips, but I never say anything. I never complain, And particularly this season, like we had some players who were gone because of the national team or because they were injured, and I knew I couldn't give up too, because otherwise, who's gonna protect my goalkeeper? Who's gonna help the team to achieve his goals and winning the trophy? So that year it's funny because it's balancing, At the end of the day, we won the cup. It was probably the best season we had at NYCFC, but in other ends, I was like suffering a lot every single day. The pain was just insane. I couldn't sleep at night. It was like I couldn't even walk. But yeah, I tried to give everything every single time I went to the pitch, and I think it was the right decision because we won the cup. But it's been a very, very challenging year for me.
So when you lifted that trophy and you said it was worth it, you were thinking about all that stuff?
I was thinking about this, like it was worth it, yeah. I was thinking of my family because my family suffered also about my injury, because I was like going back home and I wasn't happy at all because I was so much in pain. But as I said, I couldn't let this team down. My promise was when I came here for the first time in 2016 in NYCFC, I promised guys I'm going to bring a trophy to this club, and I knew it was a year. We had like a very competitive team. Everybody was very mature. From the goalkeeper, Sean Johnson, who was like a national team keeper from USA. We have like a very good defense. We have a strong midfield, and we have obviously like 2 top players of the league, Tati Castellanos, who's now playing for Lazio Roma, and Maxime Chanot. And I knew it was our time. So yeah, I remember like saying to myself when I left the trophy, like, it's worth it.
I want to talk about the partnership you had with Collins that year was amazing. I think it's funny that you guys didn't even speak the same language. Can you talk about how that was?
Yeah, so I signed for the club in 2016, and Alexander Cayens signed a season later in 2017. And I think the club has been very smart because it gave us a lot of time to know each other on the pitch. So they gave us like almost like 6 seasons together, and that's why I think we were so good, because we didn't speak at all the same language. Alexander Cayens didn't speak so much English, and obviously, unfortunately, I didn't speak Spanish too. But I think it's a football language. You don't need to speak too much, And at the end of the last season, so it was in 2021 or 2022, I didn't even speak to him. I just knew exactly how he's going to play, what he's going to do with the ball, how he's going to cover myself, and that was amazing. And I remember saying to him when he left the club, like, I don't think I will find somebody who understands myself as a player better than you, Alex. And he just left, he was laughing. but he was like, I think we really likes to each other. We really likes to play to each other. Yeah, I think we help each other to become a better players, you know. And I'm proud for what he's doing right now, you know, going back to Europe and try to establish himself as a good defender in Europe. It's not that easy, but yeah, that year was something special, and I think we won the cup because also of a good relationship. You know, we feel so strong.
Now you're the older player, but when you first came to New York, you had Andrea Pirlo, David Villa, Frank Lampard, Patrick Vieira. What was that like? What did you take away from each of these players?
I remember a friend of mine when I signed my contract to NYCFC. He was a little bit older than me. He was playing with me in Belgium. He had a good career, like playing Belgium national team. And he said to me, try to learn as much as you can from this player because they've been successful for a reason. And I keep it in my mind. And yeah, I try to look at everything they did, the way they prepare the training, the game, the way they behave, the attitude, the way they train. And I try to get everything from them to become a better player and to give inspiration for a younger one. And yes, I think the one who impressed me the most was Frank Lampard. Frank was super professional. He was like a top man. I mean, everybody was nice, don't make me wrong. But yeah, Frank just impressed me about the way his attitude. He was like just a leader, a natural leader. I think Frank was the first who's coming in the training facilities, and he was the last one to leave the training facilities, and he was like 38 years old, he won like so many trophies. I think he won the Champions League. And so some player will say, listen, I won everything, why should I go to the training so early and stay so long? But it shows like that guy was just so professional, you know, and there is a reason why he had his career, you know, being one of the top players in the Premier League for such a long time. It's the same with Andrea, you know, he has a routine, like he's doing his routine every single day. It was like, Andrea was something different because he was just so good, you know, his quality with the ball was just insane. And Andrea surprised me because it shocked me because he saw some passes you don't even saw on TV. You know, it was something different. And David Villa was my neighbor in the city, so we traveled together for 2 or 3 years, and yeah, we had some great stories. He just teach me like everything through his career. But David was something different too, you know. The way he scored goals, it was so easy for him, you know. He can score goal from any part of his body. And hey, as I said, you know, I just try to learn from them. And there was a very, very good experience. And I think if I'm the player who I am today is because of them. So I would like to thank them because they just like been amazing by, once again, just sharing everything with a young kid like I was. It's just like, it was priceless.
And I know you said you want to get back to football now. It's because of these experiences you've had. What have you seen? I know you worked with the kids in New York a little bit. Can you tell us about that in your last few years here and
Yeah.
what you saw?
So I start my coaching license in 2021, the year when we won the trophy, by the way. I think I had the feeling like I wanted to share, as I said, everything I learned. I think it was the right time. Back in the days, I was 31 years old, you know, I had some time after training. So I start my B license by coaching with the second team from NYCFC, also the U19. It's been like it was a very good experience, you know. I think I try to as I say, to give back what soccer teach me, because I like sharing. I think it's part of life. When you get something, you have to share to another one. And so I passed my B license, so I get the degree. I'm gonna start my A license in a few months. And yes, I think it's gonna be the next step in my career. You know, like being a coach. That's something I will see myself.
We've talked a little bit about your club experience. Can you talk about your international experience? Because obviously there you're playing with some of the best players in history.
I'm half French, half Luxembourg, from Luxembourg, and I have the chance to represent the country. I've been selected for the first time in 2012. My first game was against Portugal, so it was like also very emotional to play against Cristiano Ronaldo. And yeah, we had like a pretty good team. It's been difficult the first few years because Luxembourg is such a small country, so we didn't have like enough good players. But since 4 or 5 years, we have like players who play everywhere in Europe. In Germany, in Bundesliga, in England Premier League, in Russia, some France, like me, and we did a very good qualifier for next Euro, and we just like finished best third. So we're gonna play crucial games on March against Georgia, and if we win that game, we're gonna be qualified for the next European Championship. So it's such a big achievement for the country. It's not done yet. We have to win that game, but having a chance to play in this kind of game is already like a success for the Luxembourg. It's going to be probably the most important game in the history. So I can't wait. I'm really looking forward for that game.
What is it like going up against Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah, playing against Cristiano Ronaldo is something special. You know, the best player in the world with Messi, top player. I understood since day one I play against him why he was the best player in the world. He was just so quick, so strong, so smart about the way he play, and it's good. It's good because you work so hard all your life to play this kind of game, to play against this kind of player. So having the chance to play against Cristiano Ronaldo, I play against him maybe like 10 or 15 times. It was like, yeah, it's a kind of dream, you know. But it's not only Cristiano Ronaldo, you know. I'm thinking about Mbappe or Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Erling Haaland, who's doing very well now in Manchester City. It's all because I'm playing for national team, you know. I had the chance to play against the best players in the world, and obviously facing this kind of player make me a better defender, you know, because I practice every day. So it's yeah, it's always something special to play against this kind of players.
What are some of those things that you see these guys have that, oh, that's why, you know, they're at the next level?
I do believe they're just very good at one thing. They have a quality, obviously, they're good in every, like that qualities, of course, but the main between the top players in the world and a top player, they are very good at one thing. I'm thinking about Mbappe, obviously, he's very good front of the goal, he's a smart player, but he's just so quick, nobody can catch up. And it's the same with Erling Haaland, he's just so strong. It's the same with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I had the chance to play against him. There's some players very good in every part of the game, like Messi. But yes, having one strong quality, for me, that's the key to become like a top player.
Let me ask you a couple of quick fire questions here to finish up. Who is the best player you've played against?
Best player? That's an interesting question. I would say, should I say Cristiano Ronaldo? Maybe no. I would say Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Such a strong player. And I'm pretty strong as a player, but he was like something different. So it's probably the player I had. It was the most difficult to play against him. I mean, I remember that game against LA Galaxy where we fight like during all games and we argue a lot. But what I like in Zlatan is at the end of the game when the fight was over, he just came to me, checked my hand and say, I like the way you are, you're a strong man. And I think like it means a lot to me, you know. I never lie, I never cheat on the pitch, and it's yeah, when somebody like Zlatan tell you that, it means something, you know.
That means a lot. How about in training, maybe? Who's the best player in training throughout your career?
The best player in training. That's an interesting one because I have many players who became very successful. I will say David Villa maybe because as a striker he was like a small striker. It was hard to defend against him, and it's hard when you defend during the game, but at least you play against him once in a while. When you train with him, you have to defend against him every single training. So yes, I will say David Villa. Yeah.
What is the most memorable game you've played in?
There is few. I think my first professional games was very emotional also because it came like after a few years when I was working very hard. So having the chance to play my first professional game in front of my family was something special. Also thinking about obviously the MLS Cup final in 2021 with NYCFC, where we won the cup after such a long time. And probably the game against Italia when we draw 1-1, we were losing 1-0 and I scored the equalizer at the 90th minutes against the best goalkeeper in the world back in the day, Gigi Buffon. And yes, probably one of these 3 games. Playing against France too was like something special, you know. This is a country where I'm born. And maybe also my first game in NYCFC. Let's go for the MLS Cup final.
Who's your dream 5-a-side? Your 5 players you're picking?
Let's go for that. So obviously I need to find out, like I need to pick up a goalkeeper, and I would choose Gigi Buffon. You know, top man, gentleman. I had a chance to speak to him at the end of the game when we play against. Top man, and such like an amazing goalkeeper. So I would say Gigi Buffon at the back. I would choose Patrick Vieira. I know he's a midfielder, but I will put him as a centre back with Lilian Thuram. I don't know if you know him. He's like a French legend who played for Barcelona and Juventus of Turin. I would go for Messi, Cristiano, and Zinedine Zidane.
Wow.
It's 6 players.
One on the bench. What is the worst memory you have in soccer?
Worst memory in soccer, I think when we lose with NYCFC in 2019 in a semi-final against Toronto. We didn't manage very well this game. I think we had the best team in the league. We won the regular season. We were on the top of the East, and I think we just like messed up during the semi-final. And I really believe that was our year. So it was like a very, very tough game. And yeah, I remember when we get eliminated from the playoff, I didn't sleep for the next 7 days. That was a bad memory. I also remember when at the beginning of the 2021 season, by the way, the season when we won the league, I get the red card after just 30 seconds. It was the first game of the season. So after a long preseason, when you've been working hard for 8 weeks, you just like can't wait to play. And I get that red card after 30 seconds, and I let my teammates down. That was also difficult, you know. It's not a good memory.
How is that when you walk into the locker room? It's the moment we don't see it, but what happened?
Yeah, I just couldn't believe, you know, you didn't like take. It was like you really don't understand what happened because it went so quick. You start the game and 30 seconds later you're back in the changing room, you know. But I felt so bad for my teammates, you know. But it's part of soccer. But I remember I was very angry against myself. But as I say, it is part of football, you know. There is some up, there is some down, but the most important is to go up again, and that's why I did, because after that game I started playing again and we won the league. So,
what are 3 tips on the pitch you would give to a defender, a young defender?
3 tips: being focused for 95 minutes. Sometimes it's easy to lose your mind, you know. You're just like watching the ball is out with the striker, so you're just looking at the ball and you don't focus on your striker anymore. That's a mistake I made when I was young. So now when the ball is over the halfway line, I don't even look about what happened with the ball. I'm just looking about my striker, and that's why I like to speak with my teammate just to make sure they're like focus. If maybe we lose the ball, we're ready to defend. So that's the first thing, being focused every time about doing your job. The second thing is being like aggressive, being strong, you know. Striker doesn't like tough defender, and I think that's also part of being a good defender. And the last thing, just enjoy the game, because it's a game. Don't never forget. I know it's a lot of pressure on playing soccer, you know, but it's just a game. You start this game because you love it, so you have to keep your passion for the game and just enjoy it.
You've had a long career, experience with so many players. Can you give us just maybe little stories, a little anecdote for some of the bigger players you played against that stay in your mind? Maybe they're funny, maybe they taught you something, maybe they're not so funny.
Yeah, there is a lot. Obviously, I'm 34. I've been playing in a game for such a long time. I've signed my pro contract when I was 17, so I've been playing for 17 years old. What comes to my mind right now? It's probably the argue I have with Cristiano Ronaldo. He wasn't really happy because we were drawing 0-0 and Portugal have to win at this time. It was like back in the days, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and he started like screaming at me. And I don't really like when people scream at me, Cristiano Ronaldo or anybody. So I screamed back, and for like all the second half, we were like argue. And he doesn't have a good character, I can tell. And I remember making like, I lost the ball at some point. He took me the ball from my feet. And he just like, after he gave the ball away, and he looked at me and he say, it was too easy against you. So he tried to be like nasty, but I like that, it's something I like. It's the same with Eden Hazard, who was like a top player when he was playing in Chelsea. We played against him with a national team against Belgium. And I was a little bit like hard on him, and he just came to me and he say, take it easy. That's worth a lot of money, like showing his legs. So it was fun, but it was fun. Yeah, somebody like Andrea Pirlo, had the chance to play with him for 2 years, and we spent some time together. And he was probably the best ping pong player I play against. I don't think I won any games against him. He was just so good. Same with Patrick Vieira, was very good at ping pong too. And I remember also like training with Patrick Vieira. Sometime he just came on a training, just like playing, and he was a good, amazing player. But I didn't like to play against him because he was like so rough. Every time like he came, he just tapped on my foot and like kick me, and I'm happy I never play against him in a normal pitch because it shouldn't be fun.
Who's the funniest player you've played against or played with?
The funniest player I played with was Samuel Gigot, is a captain from Olympique de Marseille. So he make a good move from Belgium to Spartak Moscow, then from Spartak Moscow to Marseille. I was very close with him, and he was a very funny player. He was like a little bit like tough on the pitch. It looks like a little bit me, like we were both of us like very tough on the pitch, but he was amazing outside on the pitch. He was so funny, and I could tell like you never know, like he always like get some good joke and stuff like that. I really enjoyed playing with him.
Who was the smartest player you've played with?
The smartest player on the pitch or off the pitch? I think on the pitch was probably James Hans. Yeah, it's a very smart guy. He knows what to do at the right time. I would say also for people from New York who knows him, like Tommy McManara, he was very smart. He wasn't like very quick, very strong, but he always was the first on the ball. And because he knew exactly where to put his body and his position, he was like a very smart guy. Yeah, I could tell.
Who was the toughest player you've played with?
The toughest player was probably Kyle Walker. He was like, you couldn't pass him on a 1v1. For people from New York who know Steven Gray, the right back from NYCFC, it's very hard to pass him 1v1. But Kyle Walker was also something different because you couldn't pass him in 1v1, but if you have the chance to pass him, he's just so quick. So he just recovered the ball after that. So he's probably I'm lucky to be a defender. I don't have to challenge him.
I know how much you love New York. And finally you've left to go play in France. Can you talk about, is New York still in your heart? Can you tell me a little bit about that? And is that why you've started La Fabrique?
First of all, you have to understand like leaving New York wasn't expected at all. It happened, and it's football. You have to accept. But I'm a New Yorker. I felt New Yorker since the day one. I established myself in the city. My kids are born in New York, so there is like I have a special link with this city. I love this city so much. I love the people from New York so much. And I'm in France right now because of my career, but there is no doubt that once I'm going to be retired, I'm going to be back in New York 100% because I want to live here, and I want to give it back to New York what New York gave it to me. That's why I make the decision to open La Fabrique in New York, because I love New York and I love the New Yorkers.
Can you talk a little bit about the talent you saw in New York? Obviously, you got a guy like Justin, Tavon, Andres, all the homegrowns. you've seen the kids that out in the community. Clearly, I think you believe in the talent for you to want to open something up like this.
There is so many talents, and you just spoke about those players, but we can have Joe Scali, we can have Giovanni Reina, and so many like talented players in the NYCFC academy. But I had like an hobby. It's when I have some free time, I like to just hang out in a park, by myself. Like sit down on a bench and looking at the player, like a young kid playing soccer. And I've seen so many talent players. I don't know, New York have like something, and that's why I want to help all these kids, because I think they deserve it. There is so much talent with different people from different culture. They bring like a way to play soccer, and I just want to be part of this project for the next 20-30 years in New York, because I'm pretty sure New York's going to be as strong and as good as Paris or London, who like create so many good players. I'm pretty sure New York's going to be the next place to play soccer in the future.
Well, Max, thanks so much for being the first guest on the podcast. And I think maybe you should explain to people, I know it was your idea to have a podcast, but also why and what they can expect in future episodes of this.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different, like seeing a player on the pitch, We can share experience, we can share like everything I learned by example through my career. I think it's also the good way for the fans to know a little bit better the players, And what I would like to achieve through this podcast is maybe to bring the players to speak with you through the camera and like open themselves, sharing some experience, because what I believe is fans like that, There is the player on the pitch, but there is also the player in private. And having the chance to know the player in private, I think that's something I think could be interesting. And my mission through La Fabrique is also to create the future football professional player, So having the chance to share my experience, hopefully somebody gonna get my advice, but also the advice from the next player who's gonna sit next to you. That's little tips, and I do believe that's good tips for the people who's looking at us.
Yeah, so if you're a young player, make sure you subscribe and you check out the channel, because we'll have some teammates of Maxime, some other players, coaches even, that can give back and teach you something to make you a better player.
Yeah, stay connected, because we're gonna have like a future guest, and I'm sure you guys are gonna like it.
Maxime, thank you.
Thanks for having me.